Hi everyone, today we're going to learn to register your site for Google Search Console. This is going to provide you a lot of tools in the future that you can use for your SEO, and it's going to help Google crawl your site. So let's get started. First, I want you to make sure that you are logged into your Gmail account. See, I'm already logged in, and then I want you to go over here. It's going to be search.google.com/search-console/welcome. Okay, now you can do this two ways. You can do it at the domain-wide level or for a URL prefix, right? So that means, for example, if you only wanted to do it on if you wanted to do your subdomain separately and not have it crawl a main domain or something like that, you could do that. Situations where you would want to do that, for example, my Level Up course. I don't want Google crawling most of those pages. Like, I don't want Google crawling any of my content because that's behind a paywall anyway. So I'm going to put the courses and I would do it this way. But otherwise, for your purposes, it's going to be a lot easier if you do it on the domain level. Okay, it's also it's easier and has better functionality. So what you're going to do is, it's pretty easy. You just type in the domain here. Okay, we're going to do 7knots.com because that one hasn't been crawled yet. It's brand new. It's not even really a real site, but we're almost there. Okay, so now what you're going to do, and this is why I said that you need to have your registrar information available. Okay, so what you can do, the big ones, right? It tells you GoDaddy, name.com, and ionis.co.uk and ionis.com, and I don't really know what Gandhi.net is. I'm assuming this is maybe like an internet. I mean, an Indian company. Anyway, you could specific information for here, okay? So GoDaddy, it's all going to involve doing the same thing, though, whether it's any server, right? GoDaddy is going to, sometimes GoDaddy, you can just start the verification here and it'll just log you in and it'll just take care of everything for you. You won't have to do anything. That's the same as if you do it with one of these providers here. Okay, so I'm going to do this. So if you have GoDaddy or if it's one-in-one, you're just going to click on that, start verification, you'll log in, and it should automatically go ahead and make new text records for you, and it'll be done. I'm going to do it for any DNS provider because that's a little bit trickier. You have to do it yourself, and this is also if GoDaddy or one of these other hosts doesn't do it for you, you can do it manually this way, okay? If you get really confused and panic, just remember, you can just call your hosting company, or actually, I'm sorry, your domain. It'll either be your hosting company or your registrar, depending upon where your name servers are located. Most people have their registrar and their hosting in the same company, so it doesn't really matter. If not, you have to figure out who manages your name servers. And if you don't know that information, call your web developer. If you have a web developer, just get them to do this for you. If you don't have this information, then you don't have a web developer, you can also just call your hosting company, and if they can't help you, then call their registrar and vice versa. But this is how to do it manually. So we're going to do for any DNS provider. So you can click on the instructions here, okay, right? And what you're going to do is sign into your domain name provider. As I said, a lot of times GoDaddy and Namecheap does this for you. You just click verify and it takes you straight through. But if it doesn't, what you're going to do is you're going to copy this because you're going to have to create something called a text record. Okay, so I'm going to copy this information here. Okay, now I've already logged into my control panel. So you're going to log into the control panel of your site. Here's this, I have a server, so this is the control panels for all of them, but you should have your control panel login information. If you don't have it, you can call your hosting company, or you can also it may be in your dashboard of your hosting. So I'm just going to click on Control Panel. Okay, now I'm going to go down here to where it says Zone Editor. I'm going to click on DNS Zone Editor. Okay, and this is it right here. Now there's a whole bunch of different kind of records. The main records are called A records, the CNAME records, MX records. This is a security site, and then there's also text records, which aren't considered as important. Just a little lesson here. These are usually named to figure out, like if you want to try to figure out how your website, actually when someone types in your domain name and then that gets connected to your website, it's usually done through here. This is usually to set up your email. So we're going to click Manage here. And then now we're going to click on here. We're going to click Add Record. Okay, so now you have to have this is the name of your domain, 7-knots.com. And now you have to put an extra period or full stop here, just like this. Okay, now we're going to open that up, click on text record. Now we're going to copy our text record in here, which is and now this is how long it takes to propagate. Okay, propagation is basically it just takes how long it takes for records to flow from here, any changes we make here, down to down to your internet service provider, which is what's going to make the changes. Okay, different companies have different requirements. I think GoDaddy limits it to I think it limits it to 600 seconds is the most, or is the lowest amount, or the fastest that you can do it. This is Liquid Web, and they're pretty quick. I think I can do it in like 10. I think it'll let me do it in 10 seconds. So let's try it. Add record. Success. Okay, great. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back here. We're going to wait. So propagation is a funny thing, okay? So even though that says, and Liquid Web tells me that they can do their work in 10 seconds, no one's as fast as Liquid Web, right? So you may have to wait a little while longer. Things usually propagate pretty quickly. If you live in a country like Brazil, though, I don't know why, they never propagate in Brazil. They can take days. And then it also just depends upon your internet service provider. A lot of times, usually, if you go for like a cheap internet service provider and a budget one, like I have a customer who lives in Silicon Valley, and you would think that she would have like very quick propagation, but she has some really, really cheap internet service provider, and she's like almost as slow as Brazil. So it just depends, and it may not even work here. And if it doesn't verify, it will be because of that propagation. So we're going to try to click on verify. We're going to see if it worked. Verify. Checking verification. Okay, it failed. Okay, we couldn't find your text record. Sometimes, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes DNS changes can take a while. Please wait a few hours, then reopen your property in Search Console. If verification fails again, try a different one. So we're going to click OK. So what I'm going to say here is don't panic. Okay, this happens to me all the time. You can see it just happened to me here, and it's a propagation error. I've had this happen so many times that sometimes they wait 5 minutes, sometimes they wait an hour, sometimes they have to wait 24 hours. 24 hours is usually the max, as I said, unless you live in Brazil or have, a very cheap internet service provider. We're just going to click OK over here and just keep this window open and go back in like 10 minutes and then go back in 20 minutes until the verification works. And if you still have problems, call your hosting provider, talk to whoever it is that your registrar for your domain, or you can always contact me and I will help you. All right, and that is it. Bye.